done marvelous things. I too will praise him with a new song. Forgot to mention that our children down in Children's Church will be able to make a little special something they can hang on their backpacks. It's about Jesus, and I know Lisa has taken care of all that, so when they come back up, they'll have something new on their backpack to get caught in the door when you close it. Okay. The text for our sermon today is from Paul's letter to the Ephesians, chapter 5, especially when he writes, "Take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. For it is shameful even to speak of the things they do in secret, but when anything is exposed by the light, it becomes visible." Some of you might know this story as it's contained in children's books, illustrated with paintings or drawings. It's a tale that was originally told in a larger work called Hans Brinker, or The Silver Skates. It takes place in Holland, in the Netherlands. There's this trickster, this boy named, well, it says Jan, but I think it's John. I think it's John in Dutch. I don't know. But John's a trickster. He's at church one day, and he says, "Mom, I'd like to leave church early to go read a book to the old man down the road." Really altruistic, right? Oh, what a good guy. So his mom sends him with some rhubarb pie and says, "Okay, sweet lad." But he goes and eats a rhubarb pie by himself. He doesn't go read to the old man. He goes down to the seawall. He stays there all day. He's kind of loafing. I think some parts of the story, he's kind of a boy who cried wolf. But eventually toward evening, sometime later that day, he feels a little trickle of water down his back. And he looks and he sees there's a hole in the seawall. Now this is a problem because in the Netherlands, if you don't know, if you haven't read the story, you aren't familiar with their geography, 27% of the Netherlands is below sea level. And it just so happens that this boy's village was just on the other side of this seawall, this massive construction of dirt that was holding back the ocean. And so he looks and he sees this hole that he knows is a problem. So he packs dirt in it, but the dirt washes out. He tries to stuff his handkerchief in it, but it doesn't work. So finally he wraps a handkerchief around his finger, he sticks his finger in the seawall, and he stays there all night, holding back the ocean. He did everything he could to keep the problem from being magnified, to keep his village from being exposed, to keep this weakness from being exposed. Exposed. None of us like being exposed. Because just like the seawall and the village beneath it, when something is exposed, it will eventually get bigger and bigger and bring destruction. I think that many of us live our whole lives worried that we will be exposed. Worried that this teeny tiny hole in the defenses that we've built and the walls that we've constructed will eventually grow bigger and bigger until the whole thing comes crumbling down. It's the first thing I thought of when I read Paul's words here to the Ephesians. Expose the works of darkness. It's shameful even to speak of them. When anything is exposed by the light, it becomes visible. Oh no! I sure hope not. Because I'd like to keep my past, my vices, my anger problem, my addiction, I'd like to keep my failures tucked neatly away in the corner where the light doesn't exactly shine. I don't want anyone to know me, to know the real me, the frail me, the broken me, the sinful me. I certainly don't want to let anyone in. Because what, after all, would they think if they truly knew me? It's a very common feeling. It goes all the way back to the beginning. Adam and Eve ate that blasted fruit, which is actually what we're talking about today in Bible study. That's a teaser right there. They ate the fruit in the garden. Their eyes were open. They realized that they were naked, exposed. And they hid. They hid from God. They didn't want the light to shine on them and expose what they had done. So here we are. We're terrified of being exposed, and it's really nothing new. This has been going on forever. Nowadays, I think I've probably done this where we focus in on social media. And that's an obvious one, right? And maybe it's easier to construct these walls of perfection in the social media age, but it's nothing new. I think back to the Brady Bunch. How many of you love the Brady Bunch? The Brady Bunch was a great... Yeah, I see you, Lindsay. We watched the whole thing. Yeah. I think back to the Brady Bunch and that era in our country. And maybe some of us, even now, try to pass ourselves off as a family similar to the Brady Bunch. You know, we're a loving couple. We have a loving marriage. Oh, we have disagreements, but we always go to bed friends. And we have good kids. We have just minor, laughable things. Oh, Bobby started selling hair tonic and it turned Greg's hair orange. Cindy's a tattletale, but she'll outgrow it. Jan hid Greg's science project in the laundry hamper and ruined it. Peter was eavesdropping on his siblings with a tape recorder. Kids will be kids. And we lovingly discipline them. We instruct them, but we never raise our voice. But that's a TV show. And we might try to fashion ourselves as something or someone we're not. Families that we're not. We build seawalls to protect our real selves. We're loved, we're respected, we're admired, we're congratulated, but only because of the exteriors we've created. Only because the light hasn't shone on us. Those undesirable, those delicate parts, our warts, our bumps, the bruises and failures, we keep those well hidden, protected from the light because we don't want anyone to know. We don't want anyone to know that your marriage is far from serene, that you do raise your voice and you swear more than anyone might ever guess. You don't want anyone to know what you truly believe in your heart about the parent that you are, the mother or father, that you're nowhere near as patient as everyone thinks you are, that you're easily angered. You raise your voice at your children. Maybe you don't want anyone to know that you drink as much as you do. More than anyone might think, you keep Listerine in your car to hide it. You don't want anyone to know how you feel in your workplace, that you're in over your head, that you're in a job you don't deserve, and someday someone's going to find out that you're a fraud, an imposter, that you're lazy, you're unproductive, you've gotten by on luck. You don't want anyone to know that you're an imposter, that you've gotten straight A's at school, but it's only because your parents help you write your papers. You're a star athlete, but it's only because you're a big fish in a small pond. We don't want anyone to know the real us. It seems like we're doing well for ourselves. We have a nice house, a nice car, we wear nice clothes, our kids go to nice schools, but it's only because we're up to our eyeballs in debt. We don't want anyone to know that we're not, or we don't think we are, as smart or talented or happy. We don't want anyone to know that we're not as kind or as loving as everyone thinks that we are. We go to church. We go to church. You might even have a little Jesus sticker on your bumper. We have some outside right there. You can get one. You wear a cross necklace. You have Bible verses hung in pretty frames around your house and in your workplace, but you're far from holy. If only they knew what a train wreck your life really is. A life filled with shameful temptations and proclivities, with unholy desires and daydreams. Everyone thinks that you're an upright person, and pastors, we get the worst of it, right? But it's only because your seawall hasn't sprung a leak yet. Yet. I think that yet is the word that most of us live with. A word that fills us with fear and anxiety. You haven't been found out as an imposter yet. That everything, your marriage, your integrity, your intelligence, your talents, your parenting is just one small hole, just one crack away from imploding. When that light shines, everyone would see who you really are, you think, an imposter. Like a convict escaping through the prison walls, and those spotlights, those searchlights, just keep inching closer and closer until you're exposed. Just hasn't happened yet. At some point, all of us feel like imposters, wondering, when will it happen? When will the ocean rush in? When will the house of cards come crumbling down on this terrible foundation? When will the light reveal who we really think we are? When will the curtain get pulled back? When will the curtain get pulled back? It's like the Wizard of Oz. Everyone loves the Wizard of Oz. Kind of, same time period as the Brady Bunch, right? There's so much hype for this wizard. We hear he is a whiz of a whiz. If ever a whiz there was, if ever a whiz there was, the Wizard of Oz is one because of the wonderful things he does. But he hasn't done anything wonderful. And so they go. Dorothy goes with the lion and the Tin Man and the Scarecrow, and they go to get these new things. A new heart, courage, a brain, to go home to Kansas. And they finally get there after killing the witch, this wonderful wizard. And little Toto, this little hole in the seawall, little Toto ruins everything. He pulls back the curtain, which reveals no wizard, but an imposter, and this wizard tries everything to get people to not see the real him. Pyrotechnics and amplified voices, his face projected on a screen. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, he says. We might say the same. Pay no attention to the real me behind the curtain. Pay no attention to the broken, hurting, vulnerable, fragile me. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. About the 9th hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is, my God, why have you forsaken me? And some of the bystanders, hearing it, said, this man is calling Elijah. And one of them at once ran and took a sponge, filled it with sour wine, put it on a reed, and gave it to him to drink. But the others said, wait, let us see whether Elijah will come to save him. And Jesus cried out again with a loud voice and yielded up his spirit. And behold, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. Jesus ripped the curtain right in two. The separation between you and the Holy of Holies, God himself, has been removed. The curtain is gone, and so you don't have to pretend. In this place and in this family of God, you don't have to build a wall. You don't have to protect your real self, your broken, hurting, sinful, vulnerable self from the Almighty. And ideally, you don't have to hide it from one another. You don't need flames and a projection screen like the wizard to present an imposter to the world. You can afford to be exposed, to have the light shine on your most undesirable parts. Because the light does shine on you. The person that it reveals is one who's covered in the gospel. Loved in spite of your weaknesses. You have been found out. Because the love of the triune God has found you. Timothy Keller is a pastor in New York City, the lead pastor of Redeemer Presbyterian. Great author, great speaker, great pastor. He wrote this. He said that to be loved but not known is comforting but superficial. To be known and not loved is our greatest fear. But to be fully known and truly loved is, well, a lot like being loved by God. It is what we need more than anything. It liberates us from pretense, humbles us out of self-righteousness, and fortifies us for any difficulty life can throw at us. My friends, it doesn't matter how much you try to hide your worst parts. Like the wizard, like Adam and Eve, you are fully known, and yet you are completely loved. The light of Christ shines on you, and you are accepted. An imposter? Sometimes. Probably. But we are imposters who are loved entirely. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.